the NBA is really unwatchable. Guys don't try. Threes are flying. Dudes look like chicks. I mean, if you got to know the truth, we got 18-year-old boys with long hair playing that look like little girls, if you want to talk about the truth. Now, the product itself, the shooting is off the chain. Of course the bodies are better. Nutrition is unbelievable. Guys are bigger, stronger, taller. A lot of European dudes. I'm giving you all the reasons to watch, and I'm giving you all the reasons not to watch. When the two best players in your league are fat Euros. Nothing wrong with fat Euros. I'm a fat Euro, half Polish and half Serbian. At least on my parents. I'm all American, we know. But I got to tell you, when the two best players are fat white Europeans in the NBA, somehow the world is upside down. And you're going to tell me the greatest golfer is black. That's Charles Barkley. That's a Charles Barkley thing. When Brett Barry wins a dunk contest, a white dude, and the world's greatest golfer is black, the world is upside down. That's a good line by Barkley. Speaking of Barkley, everybody's crushing his soul, and I don't like it. Walk Blogger boys over at Awful Announcing are blaming Barkley. They're taking aim at Barkley and other big-time media types, calling those stars out for their continued bashing and negativity of the NBA. There's nothing else to do. It sucks. Which they seem to think attributes to why the NBA's ratings are down, and it's becoming an untenable situation for the league. Well, I got to tell you, if you want to blame ancillary people, then great. There's a saying in TV, the game sells. The game sells. Announcers can be good or bad. When you heard Brett Musburger back in the day, you are looking live. You knew it was a big game. When Madden was doing a game, you knew it was a big game. In the NBA, you really didn't have that. Musburger in the NBA back doing the finals somewhat. But really right now, I mean, there's so many announcers, there's so many DEI hires, there's so many guys that all sound the same. You really don't know. Like, who's the guy? Mike Breen? Well, Mike Breen is a really nice man, but he's as milquetoast as he gets. Sorry, New York guys, but he is. There's nothing there. Mike Breen will be an announcer for 100 years, and not one person will remember anything he ever said at any time in any way. They'll be, nice man. True story. Van Gundy was pretty good, but he was a middle-aged white dude. He had to go. Mark Jackson was a pain in the ass to deal with, so he had to go. So now you got what? I don't know. You got Doris Burke. You got nothing. So anyway, don't blame the announcers. Blame the game. But that's not what we do. And I don't blame awful announcing. I mean, it's in the title. It is. It's in the title, awful announcing. All right, here we go. Somehow, some way, it's Charles Barkley's fault. Charles Barkley, who again said this in the middle of an NBA broadcast, was literally telling viewers that the NBA product was crappy. That's why you like Barkley. You like Barkley because Barkley's going to tell you the truth. It's crappy. 3-point shots, dudes that look like chicks, no inside play, guys swapping jerseys. Who gives a rat's ass if a 22-year-old bazillionaire swaps a jersey with his high school buddy who's a 22-year-old gazillionaire who neither of them play hard? I like going to NBA games, though. I'm not going to lie. I do like going. Maybe I am one of those, what is it, OCD? Ooh, shiny, my wife always says about me. We'll be talking, all of a sudden I'll veer off into something else like I just did. I don't know. Anyway, Barkley said that in the middle of the game. The product was crappy, and that anyone who was deciding not to watch the sport was justified in doing so. Here's what Barkley's doing, dipshit. Barkley is trying to change the sport back to what it was. Barkley is acting as a coach. It's what I used to do on broadcasts. I used to act as a coach because that's what I am. That's what I was. I used to act as a coach and say things that the things that I would say were directed at people to change the game. Either a team, they would look at the video of what I said. It was the biggest compliment you can get as a broadcaster is to say, so-and-so Matt Painter showed his team what I was saying. Izzo used to do it all the time to the point where one of his players got mad, hit a table, broke his wrist. Barkley's doing the same thing with the league office. Barkley's actually trying to save the league, change the league, better the league by calling it out. Now, little liberals don't like that. Little liberals at Awful Announcing hate that. Why? Because they're little liberals, and in the liberal mind, the liberal world, there is no accountability. Barkley's bringing accountability. Oh, Chickapesta, my eyes are burning. How could he possibly think about doing that? Far from advocating for the league, you're not supposed to advocate for the league. They're not owned by the league. Awful Announcing thinks you're supposed to blindly advocate for Joe Biden. If you look at awful announcing and the liberal piece of shit that it is, they always defend the, quote, cool kids. You'll see an article about Sarah Spade, Izzy Gomez, or whatever his name is, Pablo Torre, Dan Le Batard are considered heroes, all of whom don't like accountability. Barkley, a Republican, although he won't admit it, understands accountability, understands if this is going to change, you got to call it for what it is. He also understands it's being truthful. But the little clowns at awful announcing think you're supposed to advocate for the league. No, you're not. Barkley was using his time on air to vehemently insist the NBA, a sport he's paid to cover, now sucks. Well, good. And maybe then it won't suck. Look, Barkley is saying exactly what the American people said in the election. Biden, you suck. Get out. Barkley's saying that about, and we're going to change it for the better. Barkley's saying that about the NBA. NBA, you suck. Get out. Let's change it for the better. That's true. I totally understand. But there's no way some little douchebag blogger boy or girl at awful announcing, or trans at awful announcing, is going to understand it. In the NBA, criticism of the product by its own partners is not just routine, but overwhelming. Right. Because they're honest people. Not only by Barkley, who criticized the league constantly, but by the majority of his peers, including inside the NBA colleague Shaquille O'Neal, who recently went on a podcast, described the NBA as effing terrible. All right. Instead of writing an article saying, you know what, I wonder why Barkley and Shaq think it's effing terrible. We're going to just say they're partners. They have to blindly follow the company line. They have to blindly do what they say at the NBA office and support my ass they do. Hey, these dudes are paid to be honest. They have the most popular show in the country in NBA history because they're honest. When the game is great, they've said it's great. But like every little liberal douchebag and every little kid that you see, what do they focus on? The negative. That's right. I did this with a player one time. Oh, you always say it. You're always being negative. I said, all right, I tell you what, I'll forget within a week. So I'm going to have a manager. You tell a manager to start counting the positive or negatives. But don't do it for a week, because if you do it now, then I'm going to, So about a month or two later, he came back to me. I totally forgot. He goes, man, manager said you said about 70% positive. I go, no, but you only hear the negative. So little douchebags at awful announcing and other little media places, they only hear the negative, and they're trying. And good for awful announcing. We're talking about them. I mean, they have the dumbest reporters ever. They get every little clown that they see as a liberal guy. Hey, man, isn't Doris Burke great? Yeah. Oh, man, isn't Sarah Spain awesome? Yeah. Shut up. Anyway, here's number 2. In the year following Nikola Jokic's back-to-back MVP, Stephen A. Smith, the number one analyst on the league's primary broadcast partner. What? Stephen A. Smith is an NBA moron. Anyway, spent much of that year referring to Jokic as a tub of lard. I bet you he said it 4 times. Maybe. But according to little blogger boys and girls, he spent the entire year, much of that year, okay. And when it was announced on TNT in 2024 that Jokic had won the MVP, Shaq went on an on-air hissing fit about how wrong the award was, and then felt the need to tell Jokic himself to his face via satellite that the award should have gone to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So what? That's why we watch. That's why we watch. And look, a little bit of Shaq there is racist. Of course it is. I mean, look, the NBA, other than guys like Barkley or Kenny Smith, who are really smart, the NBA can't stand the 2 fat white Europeans or the MVPs, Jokic and, of course, Doncic. We get that. And Shaq, for all of Shaq's brilliance as a businessman, apparently, he's just a dumbass. He's just a big old goof that wants to talk about himself and his rings and how good he was, and no one's as good as him. If you don't know that, then you don't know nothing. But anyway, so what? That's why we watch. Is there any other analyst? Turn on a college basketball halftime. The only guy that'll tell you the truth is Seth Greenberg. Everybody else is the same. They got that little girl, Carter or something. What the hell does she know about any of it? Nothing. Zero. Nada. What has anybody on ESPN's program ever said other than the lies about that Breonna Taylor being killed by the police or whatever the hell Jalen Rose was lying about? What have they ever said that's interesting? Every night you get something good. And if you don't like it, don't watch. It's the end result of the NBA allowing its discourse to become completely driven by hot takers over the years, in no small part to Charles Barkley, whose success on Inside the NBA encouraged ESPN to showcase outspoken, bombastic. Who's outspoken and bombastic other than Stephen A. Smith? And that show sucks. Nobody watches. On their NBA panels as well. Before you knew it, it became hard to even find a single analyst on an NBA studio show who wasn't saying wild and outlandish things all the time. Let me ask you a question. You're paid to cover the NBA. You believe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should have been the MVP. You tell Jokic that. Why is that, quote, wild and outlandish? Why? Why is saying the NBA product that you grew up watching, that you've been involved with in 50 years, is wild and outlandish? How's that wild and outlandish? That seems to be honest, and another word for honest, truthful. I mean, it's unbelievable. But again, liberals like little Benny Koo, the little fat kid who runs awful announcing, they love the liberal agenda. They don't want any accountability. You go along to get along. If you're one of the cool kids that says Republicans and Donald Trump are bad, they'll praise the hell out of you. Who are they attacking here? Smith, who has obviously come over to the Republican side. Shaq, who is obviously a Republican with the money he makes. And Barkley, who has obviously become Republican as well. He's the one that said you guys are idiots as Democrats for voting Democrats. That's all it is. You can always point to that now. Not before, but now. Before, you had to point to actually what was said. It's beautiful. Speaking of awful announcing, the same asinine critics are extremely butthurt that Robert Kraft and the New England Patriots, well, guess what? They didn't conduct and comply with the league's Rooney Rule, where NFL teams have to contact in-person's interview. Look, here's the deal. Here's my answer to the Rooney Rule. It worked. It worked. Look on the sidelines of an NFL game. Every brother you've ever seen is wearing his hat backwards with a headset yelling at a player or dapping him up. The Rooney Rule worked. Like in the world of the NFL, none of these guys care if it's a black guy, a white guy, none of them. Zero. The only thing that they care about is winning. Now, the one answer to that, I would say, is the guy in Miami, Mike McDonald or McDaniel, whatever the hell his sorry-ass name is. Now, he's the one guy that has to be being kept because he says he's half black. That's the only guy. Everybody else, you get your ass fired. I've documented all the white guys. Go to my Twitter, all the white guys that have been fired after a year, all the black guys. There's more white guys. Don't even get me started. But anyway, we're supposed to use the Rooney Rule. I would say screw that if I were the New England Patriots. Look, every time this year, which is the hiring season in the NFL, people bitch, whine, and moan about what about the Rooney Rule, and it's always white people. You know who Michael Shea is? The guy who does Saturday Night Live. Michael Shea did a concert. He's a comedian. And he's doing a show, and he said, man, I went to a Black Lives Matter rally, and I got there late, and it was all white women holding up, F the police. He goes, it was pretty funny. And the bit is hilarious. And that's what this is. A bunch of white media going, wait a second, Black Lives Matter, black coaches matter, oh, shut up. And then, of course, there's other guys. People that understand the NFL understand the Rooney Rule absolutely worked. There's more black coaches than we've ever seen. In fact, here's where it's gotten to. Nobody cares anymore. That's how good it has been. Nobody gives a rat's ass. Everybody knows black coaches are being hired, white coaches are being hired, black coaches are being fired, white coaches are being fired, coordinators both. Except, of course, awful announcing and little liberal rags. Little Benny Koo's on one. Good for little Benny Koo, the owner of awful announcing. Here we go. You ready? Let me back up a second. Here's what you do as a smart general manager, athletic director, president, owner, whatever, whoever's making the decision. Coach. If you're a coach, you have a desk drawer, top right-hand side. You pull it out. There's 5 guys that you would hire immediately as a defensive coordinator, 5 guys you would hire as an offensive coordinator if yours left. If you are a general manager or you are an owner or you are a athletic director of a school, same right desk. You pull it out. You know what you got? 5 guys, maybe 10, that you would hire as a head coach. The guy on the top, you go get. I got to do the Rooney Rule. Get Pep Hamilton in here. I don't get somebody. I don't care. That guy could be black, white, green, or purple. In the New England Patriots case, he was a white guy, which made all the little fellas, the little boys and gals, the Jim Trotters of the world, the awful announcing, pissed off. But the truth is, the Rooney Rule worked. All right, here we go. While the ham-handed nature of the rule can be debated and whether the rule is actually effective in getting diverse candidates hired into prominent roles is another question entirely. No, it's not. No, the Rooney Rule has worked. Look at an NFL sideline. All you got to do, go back 10 years and go back now, and you'll see a stark difference, and that's a good thing. Like, I personally don't give a shit who you hire. Like, if you're the Colts, you can get that Shane Steichen out of here, and you can get whoever. Don't matter to me. I don't care if you're black, white, green, or purple. Get Tony Dungy back. Don't matter to me. Get somebody that's going to win. Because I'm watching Wild Card Weekend, and we got the Great White Hope here, and he sucks, Shane Steichen. Effective in getting diverse candidates hired into prominent roles is another question. The reality is that every team in the NFL has to follow these rules. This is projection. Liberals know they don't follow any rules, but they want everybody else to. So even though the Patriots knew Vrabel was their guy, as did media members who cover this stuff, they still had to grant opportunities to minority candidates to check the league-mandated diversity box. Okay. Sure. We have completed interviews with Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton for our head coaching position. There you go. There you go. New England Patriots show it. New England Patriots did. I don't know what to tell you. Pep Hamilton hadn't coached, I don't know since when, but I like Pep Hamilton. I do. I like Pep Hamilton a lot. The screenshot is, here's a Patriots screenshot. We have completed interviews with Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton for our head coaching position. And you know what they did on purpose. If you zoom in, there's two brothers. Good for them. Care? Look, every year at this time, people bitch. Every year. And then you know what you do as an athletic director or president or an owner or general manager? You go, okay, great. Let's go. Vrabel, let's go. Nobody viewed either as a viable candidate for the Patriots job. Why not? Why are you disparaging those two? Byron Leftwich was the it guy. Pep Hamilton was as well. Neither were even able to retain coordinator positions at their last stop, yet prominent NFL media figures reported on the interview as if they were legit. Well, see, you got to understand. Some little douchebag writer at Awful Announcing knows what's legit or not. Pep Hamilton is one of the great guys in the NFL. Byron Leftwich is one of the great guys in the NFL, too. I would argue they're legit. How do I know? I'm not there. It's amazing how these media outlets don't know we're not there unless it sides with them, unless it shapes their narrative. They're idiots, but this is fun to talk about because I can't stand that website. Anyway, the interviews themselves can be seen as an indictment on the effectiveness of the Rooney Rule, yes, but they're also an indictment on the state of NFL insidership. Yeah, okay. Every year. Close your eyes. Go back last year, same article. And then a bunch of black dudes are hired. And then a bunch of black dudes are fired. And a bunch of white dudes are hired. A bunch of white dudes are fired. Look, it's the way the world works right now. Such reporting is insulting. Right. To NFL fans' intelligence. Have you seen an NFL fan? Have you seen the stupidity of an NFL fan? An NFL fan couldn't give a rat's ass about the Rooney Rule. You know what, an NFL fan, and I consider myself one, hire a duck, get a bag of sand in here, and win games. This insults the NFL fans' intelligence. See, this is the liberal agenda as well. We're down with the people. We don't like you Republicans, billionaires, but hey, here's Oprah and here's George Soros. This is such foolish shit. I can't wait to read more. I purposely didn't read this because I know the idiots at Awful Announcing. It's fantastic. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone knows why this is happening. Absolutely. If you bring a dumb rule in, people are going to treat it like a dumb rule. If the Patriots were actually interested in interviewing diverse candidates capable of taking a head coaching job, they could have. Man, is this insulting. Whoever wrote this is racist. Hey, can you guys find out? It's got to be this Roland guy. He is a pos, just a piece of, you know what I mean? He ain't even worth looking at, but I guarantee it's him. Can you guys find out the author of this? This reeks like this guy Roland. He's a white dude that's trying really hard. I mean, he tries so hard. Like probably the whitest dude since Mark Jones. But he tries really, really hard, this Roland guy. Got to be him. Or it's got to be a woman, one of the two. Drew Lerner. Yeah, I don't know him. I guarantee you he looks exactly like you think. I'm going to show a picture. I guarantee he's a little wheelie-mouthed guy, never played, never coached, never been involved in anything. Got a degree from the Indiana Media School, probably. Just shut up. Drew Lerner. All right, Drew Lerner. Okay. You just know. Well, he's not this old guy. Anyway, I'm looking him up. Drew Lerner. Anyway, let's go on because I love this. They just would have had to wait for those candidates to become available because those candidates are currently coaching in the playoff. Really? Oh, okay. I love this. This is my favorite. I love talking about this. This is so good. This is so funny because every year it's the same thing. Like you can close your eyes and know Jay Billis and Dick Vitale are going to bitch about who is in the NCAA tournament. I mean, there are certain things you can just close your eyes. And you know, the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule. We're mad. White guy hired. White guy hired. White guy hired. Oh, man. Which means black guy didn't. Which means racism. Black guy hired. Which means white guy didn't. Which means progressive. Yeah. Oh, he's a beat writer for the Oasis reunion tour. Okay, isn't that cute? See, Oasis was a group, and he's a beat writer for it. Oh, okay. These douchebags. That's why I love OutKick. See, people say, why don't you get on here and just talk about last night's game? Well, that's not what we are. This is what we are. Wait, there you go. This is what we are. We crush the liberals. Speaking of insufferable, speaking of, well, frankly, somewhat useless, Sarah Spain. Sarah Spain is still bummed out that Around the Horn is gone. Yeah, I'm bummed. I mean, how can't you be? I mean, no, seriously, it is terrible. I mean, it's unbelievable. You knew this was Drew Lerner. I was looking him up. Yeah. There he goes. You know that's him. Hey, I got my beard and I'm douchebags, all of them. Anyway, the insufferable Sarah Spain is still bummed out that Around the Horn, the ESPN TV show that showcases liberal sports pundit that shouldn't be on TV, isn't on TV. The plug is being pulled this summer. Boy, that's sad. I haven't been on Around the Horn in a year and a half or 2 years. There was a no longer at the company executive. Good. Norby Williamson, you're a genius. Good for Norby Williamson. Yeah. I texted Norby Williamson the other day. He didn't text me back. He used to text me back. See? Anyway, he didn't want me to appear on it anymore for reasons never expressed to me. Nobody owes you nothing. Why would anybody owe you nothing? Get out. I'll tell you why. You're bad at your job. Simple. They gave you a job. They pulled you out of Chicago because at the time women had to be hired. They gave you a show. You embarrassed yourself for about 6-7 years on the show. I remember she and Cassidy Hubbard were bitching, whining, moaning about men doing something. And while they were interviewing a player at Gonzaga named Dan Dickau, they talked about running their fingers through his hair. I'm driving in going, can you imagine if I did that? But hey, they took advantage because they're liberals. But nobody owed Sarah Spain a reason why she was gone. I'll give you the reason. You're awful. You're no good. People watch you on TV and you're unlikable. People watch me on TV and they fall in love. They send me love letters. I can't help it. I mean, it's just all this. Anyway, let's see here. But I'm bummed about the show. I think it's unique. I think it's smart. Oh, yeah. Really funny. Oh, yeah. It was hilarious. I mean, yeah, it was so funny. No, it was great. I think it's different from what's out there, and it allows a variety of voices and perspectives. Well, what do you mean? It allows every African-American, Harry Lyles, who got a DUI, they kept him there. Adande, who compared genocide to voting in red states, they allowed him on there. David Dennis Jr., like a black guy whose daddy was a civil rights leader who hasn't wrote anything interesting or unracist ever. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a dumping ground for their diversity. It was a way for them to show, hey, look, we're down to clown. It was a place for African Americans and women to show that they could say anything and ESPN would cower. And frankly, the boys and girls in Building 4 got tired of it. It didn't resonate anymore. I mean, Kevin Blackistone looked like a dead man for 100 years. Collishaw was good. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a real bummer. Really dumb to cancel. Yeah, it's really dumb. ESPN has made a lot of money being really dumb, getting rid of weird-ass people, including myself. So I don't know, to be honest with you, about mending fences with Christine Brennan. Oh, this is a summit meeting. Oh, if we could just get Christine Brennan and Sarah Spain together. Oh, my God. I don't know if there are fences that needed to be mended. I went into that interview hoping to just have she's America's gal. Everything is so open and so honest with her. Everything is so, oh my God. Everybody else is at fault. No, it's really everybody else. It isn't Christine Brennan's fault that this woman went at her. Nah, I'm so open. I'm so honest. Yeah, okay. To see if she was intentional in some of the outcomes that she had, or if maybe her intentions weren't matching her outcomes and she just wasn't aware of it. All because I am the Grand Poobah. I am Lord God, King Media. You must genuflect. She's an idiot. Now, she's not an idiot. I guess she got into Cornell. I don't know. Did they have DEI back then? But there's nothing interesting. There's nothing likable. And you know what, though? She fell into pretty good. She fell up. She got her own show, which nobody knows where it is. And I left feeling kind of frustrated and sad, because she's done so much in the space. We always talk about in the space or my team or this headspace. It felt like she was either unaware or unwilling to see how some of her coverage was negatively impacting the athletes because she covered it honestly. Here we go again. A liberal, ultra-liberal, like Sarah Spain, wants us not to cover things honestly. Christine Brennan covered the WNBA honestly. When somebody pokes Caitlin Clark in the eye, you should ask them if it was intentional because of all this stuff. But Sarah Spain and other liberals don't like them. They hate them. It's awful. They don't want accountability. See Joe Biden. They're led by a lack of accountability. They're led by bullshit. But that's okay. That's who they are, and we know it, and they've been expelled. But anyway, it felt like she was either unaware or unwilling to see some of her coverage was negatively impacting the athletes. How? Oh. I mean, is every coverage supposed to positively impact the athletes? Athletes do shit. People like Spain ask them about shit. That's it. If that negatively impacts the athlete, that's on the athlete. When did women of the WNBA become so soft and sensitive? I mean, the angry lesbian needs to come back. Because you think that negatively, are you supposed to not? I mean, how do you think it felt when I was in college, or in high school, actually? A guy writes an article, I was the best player in the area. A guy that didn't like me writes an article talking about how there are way better players than me in the area. How did it impact me? I went out and got 38 in the championship game of the regional, which encompasses the whole area, and told a guy to F off. And I was 17 years old. I mean, sack the living hell up. It negatively impacts the athletes. And to couch it as just journalism instead of understanding how some of the questions were bad faith was tough. Who decides? Why does she get to decide what's good and bad faith? Who the hell is she? She's like the ring girl. That's what she was at WMVP. Trot her out, give a score, and then Me Too hit, and she got a job. And now she thinks she earned that job. And I've told her this personally. She didn't earn nothing. There's not any talent there. What are you talking about? Zero talent. Bunch of words, doesn't know anything about sports. If you're mad because Christine Brennan asked a woman that poked Caitlin Clark in the eye if she did it on purpose, then you don't know and should not be in journalism if that's what you call this crap. Bah. Anyway, it's no surprise that people do go literally insane about Caitlin Clark. There's also certain levels you can't cross. Traveling to Indy to stalk her and send unsolicited messages is one of them. I had a 10-year stalker, true story. I had a 10-year stalker. When I became a radio announcer at Emmis, I got a $250 thing of roses. Years before, for years, I'd get letters, long letters, about how our eyes met when I walked down the court when I was the head coach at Indiana. All this, I'm like, really? Oh, okay. 10 years. I never scared, but I did show my wife. I go, look, I'm going to just show all this stuff to you. I don't know what the hell it is. And when I brought home the $250 rose thing, she's like, okay, that's not you. Who gave this to you? I go, my stalker. My stalker broke up with me over the phone. True story. It's actually funny, but it's actually very weird. And in this case, very scary. Listen to this. There's a guy, Texas man, is accused of stalking Caitlin Clark. He was arrested in Indy this weekend after police said he sent numerous threats and sexually explicit and sexually violent messages to the Indiana Fever player. According to prosecutors, an arrest warrant detailing the case shows over 15 messages from Lewis's ex sent to Clark beginning December through mid-January. Many of the messages were explicit and sometimes violent. Federal investigators tracked the messages from IP addresses belonging to a hotel in the 100 block of West Market Street. That's right downtown, roughly a mile from where the Fever play. Yeah, and another from the Indianapolis downtown library. Those dudes that go to the library, man, that XYT killer or whatever it was, pain, torture, and whatever, in Wichita library. I think Dahmer was a library guy. No. Clark told police she'd been fearful since learning about the message, altered her public appearances and movements because of them. No matter how prominent a figure you are, the case shows that online harassment can quickly escalate to actual threats of physical violence. Now, Ryan Mears is one of the most corrupt prosecutors in the country. He is one of the worst prosecutors in the country. He'll prosecute this because it'll make him look good. But boy, oh boy, does he pander. He lets murderers out, rapists out. He is the worst. He is the biggest panderer. He is bought and paid for. He is awful, this guy Mears. He gets no credit, ever. It takes a lot of courage for a woman to come forward in these cases, particularly when Mears is the prosecutor. Like when Mears is the prosecutor, you know nothing's going to happen. But it may in this case, which is why many don't. In doing so, the victim is setting an example for our women who deserve to live and work in Indy without the threat of physical violence. Then why do you let so many out that have? No. Ryan Mears is awful. I play golf with cops. They'll tell you this is the worst thing to happen to Indy, Ryan Mears, in a long, long time. Indy's crime rate, the whole place is a mess right now. It's a terrible, terrible mess. Yes, we put a shine on it for all-star games or NCAA tournaments, but it is a mess, and this guy Mears is one of the ones most responsible. Period. I got a lot to get to, but I got to get to this before the break. It's time to get down. I like getting down. Time to get Danny's takes. We're going to get down here. Let's go over some predictions from the upcoming divisional round of the NFL playoffs. I would argue this is going to be among, if not the most difficult rounds to predict, to come up with. I'm not even looking at spreads yet. I'm not. I got to get a feel this week, and then what I do is I get a feel, and I look at the spread. So I got a feel this morning because I knew I had to do this. Texans at the Chiefs. That's the easiest one. Texans played their brains out. However they did it, DeNico Ryans, the coach, did a masterful job as a defensive guy of confusing, startling, and intercepting Justin Herbert. He of the great hair, but the bad decision-making. This one's easy. Kansas City's going to roll this one. Whatever the line is, as long as it's under 10, I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs. But by the way, as I said, I'm not looking at the lines yet. I'm just telling you how I think the game is going to go. Commanders versus the Lions in Detroit. I'm a big Commanders fan because, well, I like this game, but I like the Commanders not to win. I like the Commanders because I like Jaden Daniels. Terry McLaurin is one of the great wide receivers that nobody knows about, and their coach, Dan Quinn, wears his hat backwards and lives it. Remember, he was a guy up 28-3 in the Super Bowl, and for whatever the reason, people blame him and not Matt Ryan for stinking it up from that point on. A couple years later, Quinn lost his job, resurfaced defensive coordinator, Dallas Cowboys, and when he got hired, the Rooney Rule was questioned. Well, all he's done is bring toughness and energy to a team that had none, to a team that every time you opened up the newspaper or read something online, Dan Snyder was screwing it up or Ron Rivera was being an idiot. But they ain't beating Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's defense is decimated. 13 guys were out at one point. They're going to get some back because they've had a week or two off. But it's a battle of tough coaches that go with accountability, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it big time. Here's the deal, though. You're not beaten, not in Ford Field, not this year. If the spread gets to 5 or more, or 5 or less, I'll take it. But this may be a close game. Dan Campbell's team is really beat up. The chance of Jared Goff will be all over the place. They're in, seriously, Jared Goff chants are in supermarkets, schools. It's taken over Detroit, and I'm here for it. Ravens and Bills in Buffalo. Oh, my God, game of the century. Seriously, think about it. You got the two guys that had unbelievable years. On one side, you got my favorite, Lamar Jackson. I'm voting for him for MVP, even though I don't have a vote. But Lamar Jackson on one side, he's unbelievable. And on the other side is Josh Allen. He's unbelievable. Josh Allen was left for dead, right? Oh, no, Stephon Diggs. We got rid of the idiot wide receiver. And next thing you know, your team got better. It's played in Buffalo. Now, Buffalo has a history of losing these games. Lamar Jackson has a history of losing these games. Whoever wins this game is going to be, you know what I'm doing? I'm riding a high horse. Here's the narrative. It's already set up for the racist pundits on ESPN and other networks. Josh Allen wins the game over Lamar Jackson. That's one game. Lamar Jackson wins the game over Josh Allen. See, we told you. We told you. He's the MVP. I'm going to take Buffalo in this, but it's kind of against my better judgment. This game, you could tell me a reason why one's going to win. I'd say you're right. You can tell me a reason why the other team's going to win, and I'd say you're right. Yeah, you're right. What can I tell you? I can't wait. No, I think it's going to be the game of the weekend, maybe the game of the year. Eagles-Rams in Philly. I don't think the Rams can play that well again. I thought the Rams were dynamite. I thought that pass rush last night was spectacular, and I got to tell you, every single time Matt Stafford throws the ball, which, by the way, he really didn't in the fourth quarter, but every time he throws the ball, every time, you feel like good things are going to happen. Every time Jalen Hurts throws the ball, you feel like he's going to run. If I were going to make a bet on this game, which I am, but if I were going to make a prop bet on this game, I'd take Jalen Hurts to rush over whatever the number it is. It hasn't been set yet. Game's too fresh from last night. But I'm going to take Philadelphia, but I'm only going to take them because they're the home team. I thought the Rams looked really good last night. Kyron Williams is a hell of a running back, and those receivers, Akua and Kupp, they're terrific. They really, truly are. Going to have to get the ball if you're Jalen Hurts out, and you're going to have to get it to Smith. You're going to have to get it to Brown. You're going to have to get it to Goddard. Wide receiver's going to have to play in this game, not read books on the sideline, which, by the way, is such a great story. Anyway, there you go. I got the Chiefs, I got the Lions, I got the Bills, and I have the Eagles. Basically, I got all the home teams.